All right. Hi. So my name is Aileen Burke, and I am here with some of the cast of Harbinger's production of Exit Strategy, which is a regional premiere by Ike Holter. Hi guys. It's so great to see you all. Um, and the four people who are with me today, it's all very exciting. They're actually four recent college grads who in the show are playing educators and a student, right, Mike?
Oh.
Fabulous. Okay, no, I don't know if you guys can just go around and explain
Yeah, I'm
your
a high school student.
he's a high school student. I don't know if you guys can go around and explain a little bit about your characters. I'll pop quiz first. I will ask Brendan before he explains his character to explain the plot of the show.
Okay, the plot of the show is it's a story about this 2014 when they did like a mass shutdown of a whole bunch of public schools in Chicago. It's one of the schools that was affected by it, and it's been going downhill for years. And the administration and a lot of the teachers have been turning a blind eye to all the issues. But then something gets sparked in the administration and the teachers that they decided to do a last ditch effort and even bringing in students in order to help try to save the school in one last go around.
Nice, nice. That's awesome. So, who do you play?
I'm Ricky. I'm the Ricky Hubble, the assistant principal at the school.
Mhm.
I kind of lead charge try to rally all the teachers in the end to try to bring it all together.
Sade, what about you?
So I'm a school teacher. My character name is Sadie, very close to my
Very
name.
close.
She is a very interesting teacher. She's all about pretty much trying to save the school. She's an activist, but she's also very strict.
Mm.
Also have a very playful side to her when it comes to her colleagues at times, certain colleagues. But yeah, she basically is very, very adamant about the shutdown. And she really, really, really loves the school. And I think her backstory is just something of the lines that she probably have been in the school for years in Chicago. She's definitely a local in Chicago. And of course she doesn't want to let down the kids, but also she doesn't want the school to shut down.
Right.
So but she's just a very, very interesting character. There's times where she's very stern, and then there's times where she can be a little playful. So
That's awesome. That's great. What about you, Anjali? Tell us about your character.
Okay, so I play Janaya, and she is a behavioral management / special education teacher. And she's very much feisty, definitely the one that everybody, Janaya walks in the room like, oh no, here comes that one person. So but she has a lot of passion, and she really does care for her kids, but I think because she's been through this before, she's gone through like all these different school systems, and like I feel like over the years it's just kind of like toughened her up to the point where like she just can't really open up to people in a more soft or like at least humane way. But yeah, so that's Janaya.
So to follow up to my point about you guys all just recently having had graduated, I know Anjali personally, and I know that she works with special education students in her real life, not just on stage. Have you thought about that experience in your life at all while you were playing Janaya?
All the time. I remember the first night that like auditions were going on, and I had told my students about it, and they were so excited because we do a lot of role play in our sessions because it helps them understand what we're learning in class, and it just gives them an opportunity to try out things before actually like applying them to real life circumstances. So they were very excited, and then when I got in, they were even more excited. So each time they'd be like, well, how are rehearsals? How's everything going? But then as I'm actually at rehearsals and I'm going over my lines, Janaya has this one monologue that really makes me think of my kids, because a lot of the times I find like what she says in this monologue is like how she does all these things for her kids, and yet nobody's willing to give them a chance or to even look at them. And it's like, why? Like, we keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and for what? Like, nobody, it feels like nobody cares. And that's kind of how sometimes I feel like with my kids, it's like they always get like overlooked or oversighted. Especially I work obviously working with the intellectual and developmental population. I feel like a lot of times they're kind of overcasted and their needs aren't necessarily met, or they're just simply overlooked and not at a point where they should be, and that's not fair. So yeah, I mean, it makes me want to do more for what I do outside of it, but also having that connection inside of it just really brings that passion. So when I do that monologue, I feel like the rage inside of me coming out.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Anjali. And what about you, Mike? Who do you play?
I play Donnie Bryant. He's the graduating senior actually in high school, and he's kind of like the teacher's secret weapon, if you will, in the fight to save the school, because he's very passionate about his school. He's kind of like the cool kid on campus. Like, everyone knows who Donnie is. He kind of like, he's almost so passionate that he doesn't really think before he does or says a lot of the things he does. So yeah, that's me.
Sure. No, that's great. And if I'm correct, you're the only student that we get to meet in this play, right?
Yeah, that is correct.
And what's that been like? You know, everyone's kind of working on their process as an educator. What have you been doing instead?
Honestly, I see a lot of similarities. I told my cast members this too. I see a lot of similarities of myself in high school as Donnie. So while they're like trying to almost, if I was a teacher, I would do this. I'm in the mindset, I was like, wow, like I really got to go back to high school and see how I acted in high school. Was I like a jerk? Was I like too confident? Was I, all these other things that I'm like, what would a high schooler do? Not a teacher, but what would a high schooler do right now in this situation?
Right. That's awesome. And Sade, so I know that this is not your first time acting with Harbinger. You were in the production earlier this year, Hurricane Diane. What's it like to be back? And what's it like to be working with, for those who don't know, Dennis Skiba is a longtime local actor, but first-time director. So I don't know if you have anything to share about that.
It's been very interesting. Of course, I'm very happy to like come back to Harbinger. My first experience with Hurricane Diane was such a great experience, and I enjoyed all my castmates during Hurricane Diane. And this one, I am enjoying everyone as well too. And Dennis has been really awesome, especially for his first time directing. I think it has really, it's just an awesome experience. And I think not only are we learning, but he's also learning too. And I think, he really has a difficult job trying to be an actor and director. And so he's going back and forth, and but he's doing it very well. And so I have any complaints or anything like that. He's awesome. He's always understanding, and he's always trying to push us to do more than what we're portraying. And so that's all I can ask for, and I really appreciate that a lot as an actor.
Oh, for sure. So this show has a lot of heart, I think it sounds like. And, going to school really is kind of about making memories. Does anyone have a particular moment from the rehearsal process so far that they think is funny or particularly interesting? Brendan?
Mike kind of threw a fridge yesterday at rehearsal, so that was kind of great.
A whole fridge?
Fridge. It's so impressive.
Please, I need more details.
There's more to that story, because one of the scenes I use like a fridge as like a prop almost, and I grab a juice, or I look in the fridge for something, and a juice box fell on the floor, and the fridge itself is attached to the whole like wall. So when I went to go pick up the juice box, I was still holding on to the fridge door. So when I bent over, the whole thing like fell on me.
Keep in mind, like me and Sade are in like we're in back, we're backstage, we're waiting, and one of our other castmates, he goes, oh, like it's okay, like Michael just knocked over some stuff, and we're like, it didn't seem like Michael just knocked over stuff. Like something
Mm-mm.
like big just fell. And then we hear another one of her co-stars go, "Oh my God, Michael, are you okay?" And we're like, what's happening outside?
No mics were harmed in the making of Exit Strategy, though. All was well.
I think so.
Hopefully.
Right afterwards.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. He threw a fridge. Oh my goodness. Um, yeah, so I don't know if anyone has anything though in the same vein. If you could tell someone something about Exit Strategy before they come in to the show, what would you want them to know? And it could be nothing, right?
I think just have an open mind and really try to understand our education system.
Sure.
And right, because a lot of people have really raised
Okay.
this stigma of our education system being this is the greatest
Mhm.
education system. And so just being really open-minded that every state have different protocols, different funding, different everything. And so I think it's just really just having that compassion with all the characters, with every teacher, even with Donnie and what his journey is going through throughout the play. So I think it's just being open, just being really compassionate when you walk into there and just really try to understand that every kid is not fortunate and every kid don't have the same experience as others. So
Sure. Sure, Brendan.
I think it's interesting to look at it of everything going on, how much we're asking of teachers,
yes.
underpaid jobs, and
Sure.
now, but in general, even in 2014, around then when this was written, there's such an insane burden put on the shoulders of teachers, even though their job is already, like shaping the minds of the future, is already an insane job. There's so much more put on, be it in the play, having to spend their own money on mouse traps or just things for the kids to eat, so they have things to eat. But then in today's world, it's even more than that. Now I think it's all very timely, even though it's written 8 years ago.
Sure. Absolutely. Anjali.
I'm gonna hop on off of what Brendan just said, and again, this is just obviously the social worker in me, but really understanding where your students are at. A lot of people, especially like when you're in Exit Strategy alone, like we learned that a lot of what the kids are going through are not just at the school. It's also stuff going on at home, and a lot of we don't know. We only can. I'm going to take something that I heard a couple months ago from a conference. When we see people, we only get 20%. We only get that first perspective of who that person is. We really don't know the full story. So like I said, going for the teachers, we only know the certain extent of like what the teachers do, but people don't realize that teachers put in all this effort. People don't realize that the kid might be only able to get a meal by going to that school, so just really understanding where people are at, keeping that open mind, and and it shouldn't have to come down to the factor that budget this and budget that. People have a right to an education and a right to have a successful future, and that should not be limited.
Absolutely. You got anything to say, Mike? I'll cold call on you like we're in school. I love that Anjali and Brendan are like, you guys, the four of you are so recently graduated that you're still raising your hand. You could comment. But
I mean, listen, they covered pretty much everything. I would just say before walking in there, just be open-minded because a lot goes on. A lot is taking place that you it could go right over your head, or you could sit there and be like, damn, that's some intense stuff right there.
Right.
The show's also very funny, though. I kind of want to say, that it's also like, for all this, how serious it is and how serious of a topic it obviously goes around. It is a very funny show. I think it might be one of the funniest shows I've worked on, I think. And it's definitely one of the funniest casts I've gotten to work with.
The one-liners alone are so funny. It's honestly, like I agree with Brendan, probably one of the like more funnier shows that I've ever done. So
that's a big, good, positive comment coming from from Brendan, who's a very funny person himself. So I think that's a lot to look forward to, a lot to think about going into it, and hopefully a lot for people to think about while they're sitting there. So Exit Strategy opens June 16th at Albany Barn. Tickets are $15. And I believe if you're a teacher and you show your ID at the door, you can get a $10 ticket as a thank you from Harbinger Theater. So thank you so much, you guys, for spending time with me. And I'll see you at the show. Break legs.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.